This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
Hi, I'm Bob Pittman, Chairman and CEO of iHeartMedia. On this week's episode of Math and Magic, I'm sitting down with the one and only Bobby Bones. We're exploring the power of audio.
Yeah, I don't fit into one specific hole. I think that is what endeared me to listeners. That's why I'm here now, because I talk to people that grew up like me, have sensibilities like me, and have loyalties like me.
Listen to Math and Magic, stories from the frontiers of marketing on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
And boom!
Common man, no show pep, no solid plan. Spins a yarn, begins a tale. The esoteric approach won't fail. Tune in, it's time for Common Man. Common man, charms the housewives like no one can. What'd you shoot?
Where'd we play?
Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Oh boy! Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, hello?
Just like an old-fashioned barber shop.
He has no chance.
Later.
Give me that piece. Give me the piece. Let me only piece. Give me the piece. What if it were you hanging up on the floor? And if it were you and that thing, you couldn't see it all.
Well done, young man! Welcome back to the spotlight, young man!
He's
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the North. This is the common man, Dan Cole.
Oh, that would be me. And the Grum begins at 5, actually. 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4, 2, 1. Greetings, good afternoon, and ack, I'm the common man, Dan Cole. He's Tennessee. This is the worst all-sports radio station in the country. This is my La Brea tar pit. Archaeologists and paleontologists someday will be sifting through the rubble that will be 1600 Utica Avenue South. They will stumble across the skeletal remains of the common man with my cold, dead, rigor mortis-laden lips attached to this Norman BC. Well, whatever it is now, it's an Electrolux LE27VXYZ. And they'll say, egad, it's a archaic communication device being operated by a social commentator. And that will be that. We're here until 3. This will be very unorganized, unprepared, uninformed, and we're unapologetic about it. Immediately following this, if that's not your cup of tea, well, guess what? You'll have prepared, polished, and professional when Big Ticket and JG enter the picture. Tennessee, are you familiar with the legend of Aladdin? Aladdin's lamp? Aladdin. Sure. It was a movie many years ago. I don't even know if it's a true story or not. I think it was based on a true story. And there's it gets to the one of the first turning points in the movie or in the tale is when Aladdin finds a genie's lamp, and he rubs that lamp, and a genie pops out of the lamp and says, "Master, you have 3 wishes." If that were to happen to me, wish number 1 would be to have 3 more wishes, and the other wish would be that it would be, what time does the game start tomorrow night? Do you know? You don't know either. I told you, unprepared. 7:30. That it would be 7:30 Tuesday night, regardless of what night it would be, because then would be the start of the Western Conference Finals between the soon-to-be NBA World Champion Minnesota Timberwolves and the soon-to-be vanquished Oklahoma City Thunder. It doesn't get any bigger than this. I doubted the Wolves. I'm not going to say I didn't. Although I would like to get at least a pat on the back for suggesting it was going to take more than 20 games for it to gel. That's what I said all along. But it gelled. It's gelling now. They're stacking and gelling. They dispatch. It seems like it's been weeks since they've played a basketball game. Mm-hmm. When was their last game? It'll be like... last Wednesday night? Last Wednesday. It should be almost a week since they've played. Meanwhile, OKC finished off a grueling 7-game series with the Denver Nuggets yesterday. And Tana, the first bit of business, because I always like to debunk cliches and myths and what's that phrase I always use? Train of thought, but a collective wisdom. No, what is the phrase?
Conventional
wisdom. In which, well, you know what? The Wolves have had a week off, and it was a grueling series from the Thunder. They're going to be in big trouble. Remember the last time the Wolves had a short series and the other team had a grueling series? Well, the Wolves lost the game. Golden State had to win. They had to go 7 games in order to beat, who was it? And I can't remember. Who the hell did they beat in the playoffs?
OKC?
OKC. No.
Who are you talking about?
Golden State. Who did they beat in the playoffs to advance to play goals? They beat Houston. And they have to go to 7 games to beat Houston. Meanwhile, the Wolves dispatched the Lakers in relative ease. As a matter of fact, if you said Wolves-Lakers, I would go, and they were the more well-rested team, and guess what happened? The team that just had 1 day off and got right back at it, and had to travel, by the way, too. That long, arduous travel, time zone changes, circadian rhythms, and all that. It did make a difference. Golden State won that game. So I think you...
Only one they won, though.
Yeah.
So
right.
They won the battle, but they lost the war.
Right. But I guess you think that's because of the long, arduous series.
I'm just playing a little devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I don't think
the
you
Wolves
believe
won the series in 5.
I don't think you believe it. Do you? Do you think that was the difference?
I think it's better to be fresher than not.
But do you think that was the difference in the series, or do you think it was the fact?
No, I think Steph Curry injured.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Might have been.
I would think that would be the biggest difference in that series. So, let me throw this one at you if you want to play a little devil's advocate there, Satan. Let's say you went out tomorrow to the golf course and had an experience that was not unlike a PGA player, and you shot a 74. Would you rather go out and play right away again the next day and continue that, or would you rather have a week off and try again?
No, I want to keep playing.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think
feeling good.
So exactly. So I think Oklahoma City wants to keep playing. That being said, the other one I want to debunk is, well, OKC's got a 10-man rotation, and the Wolves have only 8, so we're going to be more tuckered. I don't believe that either. There might be a very minor advantage. Just because you have 8 guys, it means you have 8 guys that can function at an NBA level during crunch time in the playoffs, rather than just 8. But I think when you have days off in between every game, when you have, I mean, these are all, same thing with the travel and playing an extended series. These are all young men in the primes of their athletic lives for the most part. Hot tubs, cold tubs, lukewarm tubs, massage therapists, first class travel, first class accommodations, the best food in the world. For keeping your body fit and vim and vigor. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that'll make that big of a difference. I think the Wolves, even if they only go 8, I don't think that's going to be like, wow, we're really tuckered. I love that it's 2 teams that like to play defense and play it at a very high level. Oklahoma City might be the best. I think statistically, were they the best defensive team in the NBA this year? That's what I thought I read. I did my, exhaustive research, how I am. And the Wolves have been one of the better defensive teams the last couple of years. They like to play defense as well. They like to go at it. I don't think you're going to see a lot of wide open threes unless they just unless with ball movement because of what they're doing, they get those open threes because there's always going to be a hand in somebody's face. They like to play defense. So I think it's got, and I don't want to do the old, we're going to have a great one tonight. It's going to be a great, because we don't know that for a fact, but it has all the makings of a really good series. 2 teams who, I saw this tend to be, I think, the 2 teams between them, and the histories aren't too terribly long. Minnesota's been a franchise for 31, 32 years, 33. OKC's been
more than that.
Not much more than that.
Yeah, like 35, 36. So they started, 89 or 90?
Okay, devil's advocate, whatever it is, 30
I
plus
just remember,
years. Yeah.
I just remember seeing the Kobe Bryant jerseys at the Metrodome.
Wait, hold on.
Back in...
You're right, I forgot about those too. George Mikan jerseys were everywhere as well, if you remember George Mikan. No, wait, he would have been gone. You could have seen a George Mikan jersey. Anthony Edwards jerseys were everywhere in the Metrodome. They were great. And OKC was Seattle first, right? Didn't Seattle?
Yes, they were the Seattle Supersonics.
So, but as a franchise based in Oklahoma City, they've been to 1 finals. Is that correct? Did they get to the finals 1 time?
The big 3 of Westbrook, Durant, and Harden.
We've been to none. So think about this. We now have, we have 2 teams in the Western Conference Finals, and between them, they only have, and when did OKC, when did Seattle?
Man, when was that?
Again, not quite as long as the Wolves, but let's say another 20 years, whatever it is. That's a long time for 2 teams that only have 1 entrant into the NBA Finals. So it'd be the Wolves making their very first appearance, or Oklahoma City as a franchise making their second. I don't think any of the players are the same as all. So should be good. And then on the other side of the coin, the Eastern Conference Finals, the Knickerbockers will be facing the Indiana Pacers. And again, the Pacers were they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they got vanquished by the Boston Celtics. But the Celtics, again, without Tatum, I think they were in trouble anyways. They were trailing significantly 3-1. Tatum went out late in that game 4. I guess they circled the wagons, and Boston gave it that one last valiant try, won game 5, but then the Knickerbockers wrapped it up. So, and looking ahead, how much fun would it be to have the return of Big Meow here for games? And then on the other side of the coin, if you're a New York fan, Randall and what do we want to go with this week? DiVincenzo or DiVincenzo? Because Rosen likes to go with both pronunciations. That's what he claims.
Is it Thibodeau or Thibodeau?
Well, that's another one. I will have to ask Rosen which one he likes. And it's the return of Tibbs, too. I didn't even think about that. So Tibbs in making their return, that's got storylines written all over.
Isn't it weird to think that it seems like the basketball playoffs have been going on forever? And the Wolves are technically only at the halfway point right now.
Yeah.
If they were to go the entire distance.
Correct, because you know what? We're halfway there.
We're halfway there.
We're
looking good now.
Here's another thing. I actually would use another wish that it would be noon tomorrow, because I just can't wait to hear what montage you're gonna put together for us. It should be good. We'll take a break. We'll come back. A little distat laugh. Controversial Vikings news will be unveiled during Peek at the Purple. But right now, Tennessee's got bonus bucks keyword brought to you by BigDeck.com.
Yeah, the fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Just enter the keyword BILLS at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. That keyword is BILLS. Enter it now at KFAN.com.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
Hi, I'm Bob Pittman, Chairman and CEO of iHeartMedia. On this week's episode of Math and Magic, I'm sitting down with the one and only Bobby Bones. We're exploring the power of audio.
The word on the street then was he's too country for pop. But then once I got to country, it was he's too pop for country. So I kind of never really had a place to fit in, but that's exactly how and why I fit. I just embraced that. Like, yeah, I don't fit into one specific hole. I think that is what endeared me to listeners. That's why I'm here now, because I talk to people that grew up like me, have sensibilities like me, and have loyalties like me.
Listen to Math and Magic, stories from the frontiers of marketing on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Check out our contest page and enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Minnesota Auroras home opener against Rochester FC on May 22nd. That's KFAN.com. Keyword contest to enter today.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man program. I'm Common. He is Tennessee. Time now for Peek at the Purple, brought to you by Affordable Electric. Common, here for affordable. Your old home specialist. May is Electrical Safety Month. And the team at Affordable Electric always stresses safety first and foremost. So during the month of May, Affordable Electric encourages you to be proactive. And they'll drop by your house or their office, and they'll go ahead and give you an inspection on your fuse box or your breaker box, and make sure everything is up to snuff, as we like to say. Affordable-electric.com. Affordable-electric. Affordable Electric is shockingly affordable. Tennessee, you know I like to, this is the second time I'm going to use the phrase exhaustive research for the program. And I was taking a look at the Vikings schedule. Do we play the Ravens this year?
We must, because we played the AFC North.
Every year, I looked this up, and it took a while. Every year the Vikings play the Ravens. If they beat them and they go to the NFC title game. If they lose, the coach gets fired. Did you know that? Every year the Vikings play the Ravens. If they beat the Ravens, they go to the NFC title game. If they lose, the coach gets fired. 1998, they beat the Ravens. They went to the NFC title game. 2001, we lost to the Raven. The coach was fired. 2005, we lost to the Ravens. The coach was fired. 2009, we beat the Ravens. We went to the NFC title game. In 2013, we lost to the Ravens, and the coach was fired. No! In 2017, we beat the Ravens. We went to the NFC title game. In 2021, we lost to the Ravens. The coach was fired. What will happen in 2025, Tennessee? This is the true barometer of what will happen. Forget about your, offensive efficiency, defense efficiency, where you're ranked, quarterback numbers, your WAR, your WISP, and all those things. Sabermetrics, analytics, throw them out the window. If we beat the Ravens, we will go to the NFC title game. And my guess is it will be against the Falcons, and you're on your own after that. If we are to lose, now here's the one thing, though, I think. If we were to lose to the Ravens, I don't think KOC is going to get fired. I don't think. I suppose if we go 3-14, they might have a sec. But even then, I don't think.
I was going to say, I think KOC has as much job security as anybody from a coaching or GM standpoint in this town.
How much do you think you have?
So take a pretty epic collapse.
Do you think you have more job security than KOC? I think you do.
Well, I make a lot less money, so that yes.
As Dark Star would say, he would say.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's got plenty of job security. But it is interesting to note, and you can look it up, because I did. Actually, I did, and Jake did. I appreciate Jake for his research. You knew I did research.
Oh, of course.
Right? Yeah. I didn't need to tell you that either, did you?
I was just impressed you had something to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I
was waiting for you to look over and go, well, is there anything else going on with the Vikings?
Well, in truth of the matter is, I knew I had that, but I forgot what it was that I had. And I was, during the break, I'm searching, first of all, for texts you sent me, thinking maybe you sent me something. Nothing. I thought, well, maybe I saved a story, because I knew I had something. I looked. None of the stories I sent to myself were there. I checked The Athletic, Fish Wrap East, Fish Wrap West. There was literally nothing. I'm going, I know there's something. And then during the Chris Hockey commercial, it dawned on me, oh, that's right. I had an email about the Ravens factor. And so I was frantically searching for it as the music was playing, and I found it. So, yeah, I had something. And you're right, I was surprised I had something either.
Well, the one story that I brought up on Friday's Tenna Fitzgerald that I feel like hasn't gotten enough traction in this town.
Okay.
Is so Caleb Williams, quarterback Chicago Bears. Have you heard about him?
Yeah, I heard he's really good.
Well, there's a book coming out this fall about like quarterback situations behind the scenes.
Okay.
And apparently, this author was interviewing Caleb's dad a lot about info on Caleb.
Oh, and he wanted to come here? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes. Well, so basically his dad and his family were talking about how can we circumvent going to the Bears at number 1 overall? Like, what can we do to get out of this? They didn't want to go to Chicago. And a little nugget in the story was he met with KOC at Senior Bowl or Combine and was smitten with KOC and was like, I need to be a Minnesota Viking. I want to be a Minnesota Viking.
He's quarterback whisperer. He knew it right away, right?
So, ultimately Chicago wasn't going to give up Caleb Williams to division rival. So that just wasn't really an option. They weren't good. They talked about going play in the United Football League and just become a free agent in a year.
Pull an Eli Manning or who was the other guy? Was it Elway? Was it an Elway that was going to go to the Colts, and he said, I'm not going. I'll go, because I think Elway was a pretty good baseball player. Yeah. I think he threatened to go play Major League Baseball. He'd been drafted by the Yankees, I think, or something. So
Caleb wanted to come here. He was smitten with KOC. Well, who isn't? Which quarterback isn't?
Well, there isn't. They all want to be here. The thing is, they all can't be here because we don't have enough roster spots. And what would the other teams do? They would all be quarterbackless. They would have to go into some kind of a wish. They would have to go into some kind of a wishbone or whatever, where you just, single wing, where you don't even have a quarterback because they all want to be here. So that is interesting. Let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know about Caleb and knowing what we don't know about J.J. McCarthy, who would you rather have as your quarterback for the soon-to-be Big Game World Champion Minnesota Vikings? Thought I'd give you a little information because you might have to think about it for a second. Maybe you don't. Maybe you can respond right away. Who would you rather?
It's a little challenging because we haven't seen J.J. McCarthy play. We have now seen a year of Caleb Williams in the National Football League. I would say going into last year, I still think Caleb Williams, clearly. I mean, there's a reason he was number 1 pick.
Yeah.
There's a reason he was getting comparisons to Pat Mahomes by just his play style.
Correct.
And I'd like to think if he was here that KFC would have gotten a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because he's the quarterback whisperer.
I'm with you. And I know we're all sort of high on JJ. And again, another reason he's never, he lost one game. Was it one game in all of his high school and college career, or 2 or 3, whatever it was? He never loses. All he does is win. Won a natty. And, I think we were relatively high on him. I mean, we got to remember, he went 5th. And we had to move up to get him. I mean, had we been the 2nd pick overall, would we have taken J.J. McCarthy? I don't think so, but we don't know.
Well, there was always rumors that he liked Drake May as well.
Yes, right.
KFC did.
So, but and then when you factor in the quarterback whisper stuff, I still think it's a little overblown. And this isn't to say that he's not really good with quarterbacks, but I sometimes think it's like we almost look at him as sort of like the Midas of pro football, that whatever he touches turns to gold. It might be, we'll find out. Maybe McCarthy will end up being a transformational quarterback and will end up being one of the better quarterbacks we've seen of this generation. But yeah, I would think if we, so when you factor that in, you think, well, yeah, it'd be great to have Caleb, but I think McCarthy's going to be just fine. But we'll find out. We'll know sooner rather than later, I would guess. Peek at the Purple, brought to you by our pals at Affordable Electric. If you need any electrical needs, remember they're your old home specialist. Go to affordable-electric.com. Affordable-electric.com. Affordable Electric is shockingly affordable.
Hey, before you go to break.
Yes.
Are you leaving the studio?
Yeah, I was planning to use the restroom, maybe get a cup of coffee. Why?
Duck.
Really? I thought you were going to take care of the door frames in this.
I can't make them that high. This is the tallest you've ever been.
You doubted me. Tetta doubted me. Sales staff doubted me. Anselmo doubted me. Seaman doubted me. Crusher doubted me. Tyler doubted me. My good friend Derek doubted me. Am I leaving anybody out? I left somebody out.
Nobody ever expected you to get this. Trust me.
All that extra work you've been putting in is really been paying off.
Thank you. I
Did the
appreciate
Vikings play the Ravens this year?
The reason I asked is I had to make sure that the information I was given was correct because it was a great bit. Does anybody else have when the Vikings beat the Ravens, they go to the NFC Championship game. When they lose, the coach gets fired. It's well documented. You're not going to hear that with Colin Cowherd.
No.
You're not going to hear it with Jim Rowe.
No, you're not.
You're not going to hear it with, what's his name again? The actor that played
Santa Claus, Jesus Christ.
No, he played the Hawaii guy. TV show. He was the detective out of Hawaii. You know who I'm talking about?
No idea.
Help me.
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck. You're not going to hear this from Tom Selleck. Are you? You're going to get this information anywhere else but the Common Man?
You're not going to hear it on. Are you still doing that golf show on Saturdays? Would you hear it there?
Yeah, I'm still doing it. It's called T-Degree.
Oh, you're still doing it?
Yeah, I'm still doing that.
Okay.
You won't hear it on Spinning Hot Stacks Wax on the Top of the Rex at Cool 108 because they fired me from that about 4 years ago. So you won't hear it there either. We'll break. We'll come back with a little This That Lot here on The Fan.
Hi, I'm Bob Pittman, Chairman and CEO of iHeartMedia. On this week's episode of Math and Magic, I'm sitting down with the one and only Bobby Bones. We're exploring the power of audio.
The word on the street then was he's too country for pop. But then once I got to country, it was he's too pop for country. So I kind of never really had a place to fit in, but that's exactly how and why I fit. I just embraced that. Like, yeah, I don't fit into one specific hole. I think that is what endeared me to listeners. That's why I'm here now, because I talk to people that grew up like me, have sensibilities like me, and have loyalties like me.
Listen to Math and Magic, stories from the frontiers of marketing on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Howlin' with the Homies is coming to you live before and after every game of the Western Conference Finals, thanks to Youngsteads. Join Max and Parker as they get you ready for each game. And don't forget to tune in after the games as they take your calls and break down all of the action. Listen, as always, right here on KFAN or the free iHeartRadio app, or watch it at KFAN.com/watch.
What's that called? Homer Hanky?
Howlin' with the Homies.
Howlin' with the Homies. Yeah. Ho! Little Max and Parker Fox. Will that be from the cage or here in studio? Do you have any idea?
Oh, I mean, it's in OKC, so I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, they're doing it. Yeah. I wonder for
home games, they're usually at the, they're at the cage.
They'll be down at the cage, which is the enclosed glass bubbles. More like an aquarium than a cage to me. I would call it the aquarium. Teddy, should we do the show from there? I mean, there'd be nobody there between noon and 3, and game doesn't start until 7:30, so it really probably doesn't serve us any purpose. Does it get you closer to home?
Yeah, it's about 7 minutes closer to my home, so yeah, I'd love to do it.
Yeah. Do you think the station will pick up the parking tab? I don't think so.
There's that.
So I think we're better off just...
And they'd have to pay a board op to be here.
Yeah. I think we're better off. Matter of fact, I don't think we have a choice at this point. We have to be here. But that's okay, too. Speaking of the Bears, saw a story, I think it's fresh. I think it's today or yesterday. Remember, they were threatening to go to Arlington Heights, some suburb. They were going to build in Arden Hills. And they said they were going to keep it downtown. Now they're shifted the focus back to the suburbs. They want to do an enclosed stadium. And they've made significant progress in that. That's what the headline says. It says, Bears shift focus for new enclosed stadium back to the suburbs from the Chicago lakefront. And look, we know what happened here. Money talks, and the people that have a vested monetary interest in downtown Minneapolis, they have a lot of power. They wield plenty of it. And there was no way they were going to go to Arden Hills. Not a chance they were going to let that stadium get built there. Now, again, I think Zygmunt and Sir Mark had the final word. And if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, Timothy, I think they wanted to go to Arden Hills. They looked at the development possibilities there, plus a stadium with a lot of property of all the tailgating and such like that. I think a lot of fans wanted that too.
They could build Ziggy World out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what, and I think like
the practice facility stuff could have been out there.
Well, that's true. Yeah. And I also think a lot of fans wanted that because I think there is some, you know me, I'm not a big go to game guys anymore, but I remember back in the day when, Badger Bob and I and we would drive separate. I don't like the uncomfortable silence. Go to Lambeau. I've been to Curly a handful of times. Being out in the parking lot, throwing the football around with the barbecue, it's fun, And you don't get a lot of that in downtown Minneapolis. You have your little pockets of it. But it sounds like Chicago's going there, and so I don't blame them, really. Soldier Field is iconic. I didn't realize this either. The Bears, when they played at Wrigley and at Soldier Field, they don't own those stadiums. Those are owned by, I don't know if it's the city or county or the state or if it's a combination or if the gum guy, J.W. Wrigley, whatever his name is, if he owns the stadium. But the Bears, I think, would. Now, I don't know. I guess they're going to hold Arlington Heights in the state of Illinois hostage, right? Well, we could always move, if you don't help us build a stadium. But and I don't like enclosed stadiums for football. I really don't. Now, again, I don't go to games, so it's easier for me to say. Because I just think football, I kind of like the outdoor element. Baseball, I've always been. And it's weird. You would think, well, you'd like baseball more in the elements because it's usually sunny. And it is, generally speaking, during the regular season, being outside on a 75-degree day is great. But if your team ever makes postseason, we don't really know what that's like here. But when they do, and all of a sudden they're playing games in November. Think about games in November here, the possibility.
Yeah.
We're
going to have it this week. It's going to be in the 40s
exactly.
tomorrow.
And so it's like you're thinking to yourself, really, do I really want to do that? And it's not just for fan comfort. I've always said baseball's supposed to be played in warmer weather. I just think you play better when you're not wearing stocking caps and Carhartts. I snowmobile suits.
Not only all that, but how many times are there people like traveling from Fargo and you're coming down here and then a game gets rained out and you've just spent money on your trip down here and got tickets for that certain time and that certain day?
That's absolutely correct.
That being said, now Chicago, if they want to go to an enclosed stadium, my first thought was, Chicago's known for the elements and the wind,
right?
And like we're a tough guy town, and we play through that doesn't match up to now play indoors. But I would also say if I was a Bears fan, and I've watched that quarterback play for the last 40 years, and some of the worst football that's been played has been played in Chicago because of the turf field and the wind. It's hard to throw there. It's hard to get offense going on that field. So, just from an aesthetic standpoint, it might be good to let's have Caleb Williams playing indoors as opposed to trying to play outdoors for the next decade.
I think you're absolutely right because it is a passing league, even though we've we've sort of kind of moved back to the running game a little bit. At least some franchises have.
Plus, you can do so many more events there when it's indoors,
and that's why the people that have the money and have vested interest in downtown Minneapolis wanted it there because it's not just the 9 or 8 regular season games and the preseason game. It's the concerts and all the tractor pulls. Did they still do tractor pulls?
They do Monster Jam.
Monster Jam and Monster Trucks.
Sunday.
Ram Tough Trucks. Chevy Silverados and Ford F-150s and a tractor pull.
And then it'll be Metallica,
along with Vomiting Rats and the Chris Hockey Band. So they weren't going to allow that money to escape and go out to Arden Hills. Another football note, one more for you, Teneby. I noticed this is Josh Dubois. He writes football for Associated Press. Headline, Brock Purdy agrees to 5-year, $265 million extension with the 49ers, AP source says. Santa Clara, California. Brock Purdy agreed to a 5-year contract extension worth $265, going from the NFL's biggest bargain to one of the league's highest paid players. A person familiar with the deal told the AP that the sides reached agreement Friday on the contract that includes $181 million in total guarantees. The person spoke on condition of anonymity. Why? Because the team hadn't announced the deal yet. So shh, don't say anything. But then he says something anyways. You dirty rat. NFL Network first reported the deal. Purdy has made less than $1 million a year for his first 3 seasons and was set to get a small raise in 2025 to about $5.2 million. Small by NFL standards. You and I could go to the grave with 5.2. That's because there's this about to make $5.2 million under the league's proven performance escalator for making the Pro Bowl last season before reaching his new contract deal that puts Purdy in the top 10 in quarterback contracts. And that's where you want to strike. We've talked about this forever. That rookie quarterback deal is when you hope your quarterback just excels and you get a chance to. Your quarterback is so good and you have enough other pieces around you and that you can use money that's now that $265 or the $180 million guaranteed for Purdy. You can spend it in other positions because I'm not saying that for sure the San Francisco window to the big game has been completely closed, but it's going to be a lot tougher to field a team when you're paying the quarterback that kind of money. And we're in that situation where what's McCarthy making this is his second year, but it's still not much, right? It's peanuts, right?
Oh, yeah. He's probably making, what, $4, $5, $6 million, something like that?
Yeah, probably something like that. Even if it's even that much, I don't know for sure, but you might be spot on. So, and then the other thing is, Brock was Mr. Irrelevant, right? Wasn't he the last person taken in the draft by San Francisco when he was drafted? And I've still questioned, and maybe I shouldn't. You know, it's what do I?
JJ's cap hit is $4.97 million.
What do I need to see from the guy to believe that he's one of the best quarterbacks in pro football? He's only gone to 2 NFC championship games and Pro Bowl and this. I just sometimes wonder, you know, if he was drafted John Randall wasn't drafted at all and he's in the Hall of Fame. So for sure, players can be overlooked and can be much better than the purple praise of the world think they're going to be. But I still wonder, you know, last pick taken, he's been with a great team. It's like, remember when we talked about, you know, boy, if you're a rookie quarterback, this was 2 years ago, the team you'd want to be drafted with would be the Vikings because they got all the pieces in place. Bookend tackles, you got Jefferson, you've got Addison and Hawkinson, you got quarterback whisperer guy, a defense that is aggressive without being reckless. Be a great place for a quarterback to land. I think San Francisco was in that same situation, right, Tenemy? Really good defense, a great offensive mind in Kyle Shanahan. I think he's highly regarded. They had a lot of pieces there. They had a great left tackle, future Hall of Famer, right? Great running game. You know, they had great skilled position players and Debo and others. So that was a good place. I sometimes wonder, is it more what he's got around him that makes him better? Not to, you know, I guess I'm trying to take something away from Purdy. So I just wonder if all of a sudden.
I think he's a quality quarterback that had a lot around him.
Yeah, I think
right?
that's what
doesn't mean, you know, he was bad and would be terrible anywhere else. But, I mean, he should be giving Kyle Shanahan a big hug right now.
Yeah.
Because, as you mentioned, he's Mr. Irrelevant. So every other team passed on him. You know, he's one pick away from being an undrafted free agent. And not only was he drafted by the best guy he could have, like, to a spot where he's going to get developed and have everything you just mentioned that's around him. And, you know, let's face it, Shanahan has always been thought of as like a quarterback whisperer as well, or an offensive guru. I mean, there's a guy who was one pick away from wondering if he'll ever make a football team to how he just made a $250 million contract.
Yes, correct. That's exactly right. And we'll find out when. I don't think they'll be able to put quite as many pieces around him, I would think.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I think they've missed their window here, right? They had that window where Brock was getting pennies, right? We just said JJ was making $5 million a year. Purdy wasn't making anywhere near that.
No, he's making $1 million.
Yeah.
Last year, he made $1 million.
And they've loaded up everything around him. Now, you have to give that to Purdy. And, you know, they had to jettison Debo Samuel this offseason. He went to Washington. Like, guys like that, you know, Christian McCaffrey, he hasn't shown signs of wearing down, or at least from an age standpoint, but he's up there in age.
Yep.
Has had a lot of injury stuff. I think San Francisco here could be in a little bit of trouble now that they've committed that much to Brock. Correct. And they're not going to be able to fill up everything around him. He's a quality quarterback. I don't think he's a climb on my back quarterback that can elevate others.
I tend to agree. And I guess we'll find out whether we're right or wrong, or at least, are we closer to the truth than not, because he's got the money and they're not going to be able to put the same type of talent around him. And that's where you coach guys up. I guess that's where, if you have to have the ability to find diamonds in the rough. You have to be able to find players that are those undrafted free agents or 5th, 6th, 7th round picks that you're able to develop into real quality players and get enough around them. And he has to be able to elevate that team. But I don't know if he can. I mean, Mahomes can elevate teams. And we even saw last year when Mahomes didn't have that offensive line against the Philadelphia. And that was one game postseason. Yep. But man, he looked human. He just didn't look like the Mahomes we'd seen in the past. And it certainly wasn't, I don't think it was anything to do with him. It's because he just didn't have anything around him as far as pass protection. Philadelphia was all over him. So,
they're all over him without blitzing.
Yes, that's
just on their front four alone.
Much like what the Rams did to the Purple in their playoff game. I mean, they didn't blitz, I don't think, once.
Nope.
And they didn't need to. It was a playoff tie, 9 sacks, count them. So the Vikings, we think, have corrected that with their offensive line. Defensively, they've also reconnoitered the middle of the defensive line too. So things are looking up. But it's like Purdy is at this point, like we say, he's a quality quarterback. He's proven he can play in the NFL, obviously. McCarthy, we don't know that yet, but I still think you're in a better situation probably with McCarthy, just because you got to think he's the goods, at least. Is he going to be generational? I don't know, but you would think he'd be able to function in the NFL, especially with what he's got around him. We got quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a good spot right now. I think it's going to be the Vikings and the Falcons in the NFC.
This is our Brock Purdy window where we got J.J. McCarthy under this contract here for.
Well, that's exactly right. It's like, it's funny, the years we've worked together, I think we both kind of morphed a little bit. Maybe you didn't. I kind of always thought you got to get the best quarterback if you can draft them or free agency. But man, the best way to do it is draft a guy, and he in his first couple of years he develops right away. He becomes a top 10 type quarterback.
Well, some of these guys are developing faster, right? But it used to be, year or 2, 3 years development, and now you get guys like Jaden Daniels can come in year 1 and give you like an MVP type performance.
Yes.
So it's a little easier to go that route now.
Yeah. This text message says, Common, one of the guys on First Take. What's First Take? Do we know?
It's a television show on ESPN, basically, where guys yell at each other back and forth and argue over sports opinions.
I thought that's what the show Barrero and JG did, First Take.
Oh, that's enough said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's on Fox 9.
Are they still doing that?
Yeah.
Common, one of the guys on First Take had the best reasoning on Purdy. Like him or not, Brock Purdy saved everyone's job. They sold the farm to draft Trey Lance, a huge bust. They'd have all been fired if Purdy didn't come through for them and pay him his due. Yeah, I think you could make that argument, certainly, because it wasn't like Purdy came in, he was just okay. He did play well. Now, again, he had a lot to work with, but you could slide a lot of guys into that situation that probably couldn't succeed. And look what Sammy Darnold did. We've talked about that it's like, the quarterback, other than goaltender, is the most important position in all of sports. I think goaltender in hockey's been close second. Or maybe, I don't know about in soccer. There's not many shots on goal in soccer. It's like 4. Even though the size of the net's about the size of the barn in Glencoe on the farm where Little B grew up. I think certainly he succeeded in a place where he had a lot to work with.
I either read somewhere or saw somewhere, since we're on the San Francisco topic, that the year Pat Mahomes got drafted, whatever year that was, that allegedly, as the rumor goes, San Francisco didn't study any quarterbacks in that draft because they were so convinced they were getting Kirk Cousins in free agency the following year. So They thought, like Shanahan thought, we're getting Cousins next year and our quarterback problems are solved, so that they didn't even study up. Like, Mahomes was available. They could have picked Pat Mahomes.
Really?
Yeah. That's what I'd heard.
Because Mahomes went 10, right? He was a 10th pick overall, is that right?
Chiefs, moved up to get him from 23.
Think about it.
And then they ended up not getting Cousins. Obviously, he came here. And that's then what led them to trading up 3 years worth of draft picks to get Trey Lance, and that didn't work out. It's pretty amazing they were big game contenders every single year for a good stretch of time there, in spite of making just an awful trade that gave away 3 first-round
Yes,
picks.
no, you're absolutely
I
right.
mean, that just doesn't happen.
No.
That derails franchises.
Yes. I had one other note for you. Oh, this is a good bit for later. Here's what it was. I was going to ask you a question. And then I thought if I ask you that question, Abbott's going to get all over me for not knowing that I could have looked it up for myself. But that triggered, I saved this email from back. This is all the way back in April 29th. Subject line, Abbott is a fraud. And here's what it says, Tenemy. Comment. Who is corner office Abbott accountable to? Anyone? Didn't think so, ... Is he accountable to anybody? Because, we're accountable to him. He comes down all the time. Why did you do this, do that? Does he have anybody to answer to? Is he just kind of,
it's basically like National Program Director of the Year. I mean,
I just don't think he has
He calls his own shots.
Yeah. It must be nice to be king. And so the emailer's absolutely right. He's accountable to no one like you and I are. We're going to do 5-3 for now. Remember, no Mark Rosen today. He'll join us tomorrow. Oh, some power trip bet information. I owe you money. $4, is that correct?
$4.
What are you going to do with that $4, you think?
I don't know. Maybe double down on another bet with you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because what was the bet again? I took the Stars.
You took the Jets.
Oh,
I took the Stars.
Jets.
The Stars 1 and 6.
I guess you bet with your head, not your heart, because you hate the Stars. I'm surprised you bet on them.
Well, remember the conversation was, I was talking about how I actually hate the Jets more than the Stars.
Oh,
just
yeah, that's right.
They attack our superstar players and try to injure guys.
Yeah, but then what did we do to them? We stole the whiteout. So we took that from them. And then the Rosen bet and I pushed. Why would I think the Cavaliers were going to the...
Well, because at the time they were off to a red-hot start, and I'm sure Rosen was doubting them.
Yeah. But anyways, those bets, that's a push. Because Rosen took...
So that bet was, you had... This is a bet back in November you guys made, that you had the Cavaliers going farther than the Celtics, and they both exited the same round.
The same exact round. I know we've got 5-3-4 coming up at the top of the hour, but I also have something else. Do you remember I wouldn't trade Royce Lewis?
Yes.
I've got another angle on that. I think you're going to enjoy it. So we'll do that sometime before the end of the program. But on the other side of the break, hour 1 in the books, Teneby has 5-3-4 for us. You got a tease, please?
Yeah, the streak is finally over.
Hi, I'm Bob Pittman, Chairman and CEO of iHeartMedia. On this week's episode of Math and Magic, I'm sitting down with the one and only Bobby Bones. We're exploring the power of audio.
Yeah, I don't fit into one specific hole. I think that is what endeared me to listeners. That's why I'm here now, because I talk to people that grew up like me, have sensibilities like me, and have loyalties like me.
Listen to Math and Magic, stories from the frontiers of marketing on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.